All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have playoff race number 1 here with the Area 51 Racing League Indy Series. Tonight we're going to be 125 laps at Dover tonight. And I say right now, drivers putting down their qualifying laps, and these are going to be crucial qualifying laps as well, because I say from watching practice, Steve and I have been noticing it's going to be very difficult to pass. Say these things are they're just very little speed drop between these cars through the turns and on the straightaways. They go from about 200 to about 195, so it's going to be tough to pass. I don't know that top line is going to have too much action up there. So drivers are now putting down their qualifying laps. And of course, this is, like we mentioned, playoff race number 1. You see the top 8 in points up on the list above there. And so Henry Bennett, he's got that 5-point lead over Charles Teed thanks to his 4 wins to Charles's 3. And then you see 15 out of the lead, you got Matt Wagner and Chad Wilkes with their 1 wins apiece. And then further back, you got Craig Forsyth, David Payne, Eric Schaus, Michael Spell. No wins during this season so far, but wouldn't be surprised to see any of those guys pick up a win in these 3 races. So again, the way it's going to work is we have 8 drivers this week, next week, and then in 2 weeks' time, it'll basically drop the 8 to 4, and then there'll be those final 4 racing for the championship in the final race. All right, Steve, I know you've been putting down some laps yourself, so what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What should we be expecting here tonight?
Give me 1 sec, Kyle. I'm trying something.
Uh-oh. You know Steve means business when he's trying something out here, so say drivers, most of them have made their laps. Some are waiting a little later to put down their qualifying lap time here. You see one coming around through the start-finish line now, completing his lap. And so again, I think qualifying going to be crucial. I think just going to be all about pit strategy as well. Maybe going off cycle, maybe catch somebody at the right time where maybe they make a green flag pit stop, where you can go that little bit further. Just because we've been looking, I mean, pit speed limit here 35 miles an hour, and under green flag conditions, these drivers are rounding this track around 18, 19 seconds a lap. So just imagine how much time you're going to be losing with a green flag pit stop cycle. So for me, if you have the opportunity to pit under green, I think you got to take it, especially if you're towards the back of the field. And I think if you get more than maybe 10, 15 laps on fuel, I think for sure you have to get in the pits. Fuel is in the low to mid 40 lap range, depending on draft. So yeah, so I think that's going to be a crucial one as well to see how it's all going to pan out here tonight.
Okay, so I watched Henry Bennett's qualifying lap, and I tried to imitate what he did, which was different. And I don't want to give away his secret, so I'm not going to say what he did. but it didn't work for me. I still ran the same stuff that I was running in practice. I ran a 18029, which would have put me, let's see.
That's, I think, P4 right now.
Yeah, that put me P4. Okay, so here's what I think about the setup for tonight. Like you said, passing's going to be really difficult. The one thing that surprised me the most about both setups, but the race setup especially, you can go flat out all the way around here. It's very comfortable. It's not like the Cup car where you want to push into the wall coming off the turns. So these guys are going to be very comfortable racing with each other. The problem is going to be that the high line just isn't there as far as keeping up with the low line. So the only way to really pass, I think, and Gael said this also, is to take a high line and then dive it off into the low line coming off the turn. You get a run on the car ahead of you, and if they don't block you, you can pass them underneath.
Yeah, I think that's going to be I think that is a move that we could see happen. So we're going to go over a starting grid real quick. So say Dark Horse Pole Award going to go tonight to Henry Bennett. He's definitely been racking those up this season in that 007 machine. And you see the drivers with the little P next to their name. Those are our playoff drivers. So you got Henry Bennett, Chad Wilkes, Charles Teed. Top three right there, all playoff drivers. And you got Jimmy Dryden, Bud Steele, and Craig Forsyth. The next of those, Matt Wagner as well. And then Gary Corley rounding out our top 8. And then you got 9th through 16th. You've got David Payton, one of those playoff drivers as well. Ivan Pla, Michael Spell in the 88 car. He is in the 11th position. And you got Alec Coates. And then the remainder of the drivers opting to start from the, opting not to put a qualifying lap down, including James Ledford and our two playoff drivers. Also Eric Schaus, Eric Schaus, not Jim Brooks. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it in. But Dwight plus Jim Brooks also opting to start from the pits. And then you got Joseph DeCiro and John Brill will be the 18 cars taking grid this evening.
You know, I'm surprised that in the playoffs that Eric Schaus is still doing the starting as far back as possible strategy to try and get points. That all important point for gaining the most spots.
Yeah, and actually, I personally, I think it's a really good idea for him. Because I think this race is going to be very dicey early on, so he's going to be starting in 14th out of 17. So he's going to be in a little bit of clean traffic, probably a little bit calmer where he is. So it'll be fun to see what he can do with that as you see him go by the screen right there. However, business is going to be picking up very quickly though, because Henry Bennett going to lead the field to green, and then like I said, I think it's going to be kind of an all-out dash for a lot of these drivers to try to find their way to the inside line to try to get that, down to the inside line. But I think that middle groove will get you up maybe to about the 3rd, 4th position. So we'll have to see what the strategies are for these drivers tonight. But pace car is in, and then you got Henry Bennett, Chad Wilkes on the front row. Race number 1 of the 3 race playoffs here, kicking off tonight at Dover.
Green, green, green.
Alright, green flag is outside. Didn't even mention, gotta be careful about tire spin. Looks like everybody's done a great job getting through the gears here. So we are underway here at Dover.
And I'm seeing, let's see, Charles Teed. Is that who's stuck on the outside there?
No, it's that is Chad Wilkes pinned on the outside. And I wanted to see what Chad's going to be able to do. You saw Craig Forsyth; he wasted no time, jumped to that inside line, and that's what I want to see is where does Chad wind up here? Is he able to maybe hang on that outside groove in that 17 car? Because I feel like even running the top side, you might be able to still hold a bit steady, but he actually falls back into that 4th position here, so he does drop a couple of spots from his 2nd position, just again, everybody wanting to get to the inside groove. So I think that's going to tell us pretty early on that you're going to want to have that track position and, of course, have that low line here.
Yep, a lot like what I remember from Talladega recently in the Cup cars.
Yeah, exactly right. So you don't really expect that on the Cup side, but yeah, we are seeing that as well. You see Bud Steele, he's going to jump to the top behind that 17 of Chad Wilkes. You see Matt Wagner, he's made his way up a few spots into that 6th position there in the 11 car. I'll say you see right now, it looks like pretty much all our championship competitors just really hugging this inside line. So I think everybody's thinking all about that track position. So the one that I'm watching right now, though, Steve, is going to be the 5 of Charles Teed here. I think what he's probably doing right now is I think he's just letting Henry set this pace. He's going to stay tucked in back of this 007, try to save his fuel mileage, maybe run an extra lap or two than Henry. I think that's going to be the best option. Actually, as I say, that caution has flown, and I think it's the 75 Ivan Pla, heavy damage to his machine. He's going to try to limp it to the pits. Let's go see what happened to him, though, to bring out our first caution tonight. Oh, actually, we had a couple incidents there. Let's go back a little further here. So it started around actually Gary Corley. If you look actually 3 wide here going into turn number 1. And we'll take a look, and I think, contact between David Payne and Gary Corley. And so that's what got Gary up until, I think they all got away with it. You see a little bit of damage, though, to that 38 car. And I have a feeling that probably, it looks like that car's better again there, actually. Then Ivan Pla looks like actually he had contact with Eric Schaus on the entry here. Say me. Yeah, Eric didn't have a lot of room. Looks like a little bit of net code as well, unfortunately. So that's going to put us under caution for the first time tonight. So 2 drivers, unfortunately, getting a shot from that one, the 75 and the 65 as well. So pits are open, and so far, Steve, most leaders did not opt to pit there. I'm trying to see if any of our playoff drivers did, and actually, if you look at a ticker on the left, Steve, we're going to have our answer there. Positions 1 through 8, all of our top 8 right now, playoff drivers in the top 8 on track here.
What ticker were you looking at to see that?
Oh, the one that we have on the overlay for the audience to be viewing.
Okay. I don't think I have that one.
No, you see it if you have the stream open, but yeah, I don't think you'll see it on your screen, unfortunately. But yeah, so right now, though, our top 8 are all of our playoff drivers. I was surprised to see none of them actually jump in there to top off or anything like that. I think Bud Steele, the first of those to opt to make that decision. And of course, Gary Corley, he had no choice there. And then, of course, Ivan Pla as well. I think he had to take a tow. And so, yeah, so right now it looks like about 4 drivers opted to pit. The rest of the field stays out here. So we already are on the 1 to green here. So we're going to restart here just momentarily, Steve. But yeah, I say like it's only about 7-8 laps, but I feel like that would have been a good opportunity again to try to just get that little bit of extra fuel in your car. See if you can maybe use that to help you out in the long run.
Yep, and once again, Eric Schaus is the one that surprises me because somebody that's typically does things a little differently and works on his fuel management. I'm surprised that being at the back of all the leaders or all the playoff drivers that he didn't jump in to top off on fuel.
Yeah, so I would have thought similar as well. So one thing this yellow does do, Steve, we talked about it being right on the edge of the fuel window. I think this actually puts us in the window now where these drivers could make it on 2 stops under green flag conditions to the end here. So I'll say again, still got plenty of time to go. 117 laps remaining. We're going to restart here on lap number 10. As pace car ducks off, it's going to hand it back over to Henry Bennett. As you see, he is down and away a little early there. I'll say again, he has discretion of when he wants to go. And so he's going to give himself just a little bit of the breathing room here right off the bat.
Yeah, out of all the playoff drivers, well, we've got a couple gaps. We've got a gap between second place of Charles Teed and third place of Craig Forsyth, and then we have another gap between I'm getting Matt.
Oh David Payne, and Michael Spell. Yeah, those 2 cars very similar color schemes. And actually, so this could get interesting here. It depends on what Ivan does here, though, Steve. But he's actually just got out in pit, so he's right now on the tail end of 3 down. This will put him back to 4 down. It looks like Ivan's going to stay up top, though, let the leaders go on by. But I was going to say this could be interesting to see about what kind of traffic that Henry might have to deal with here. You see Ivan, again, just being really respectful, letting leaders go on by here. But yeah, so right now, so you got that train back again going on that inside line. So, like you said, though, I'm surprised a few drivers didn't top off there. Maybe just get at least a little splash of fuel there to, again, maybe they could go that maybe 7-8 laps longer than the rest of the guys, and see if that maybe could help them in their pit strategy here tonight.
So playoff drivers have all bunched up together now, and I notice Alec Coates has also run them down. So he's the first of the non-playoff drivers to be up near the leaders, and we've got a couple more sneaking in behind them.
Yeah, so Eric Schaus, he got tired of waiting on the outside line, and so he jumped to the top. Didn't get the momentum he was looking for. He's going to jump back in a little bit here. You can see, I think, drivers starting to get a little antsier here. Actually, you see Gary Corley slow on the apron there as they went by. Looks like he's going to get it to the pits without bringing out a yellow. I was saying the other driver, I think right now the one to kind of keep an eye on is going to be that 6 of Bud Steele. He's the first of those that did pit under that caution, and he is in this train of cars as well. So he can go again probably about 7 or so laps longer than these guys. I say right now, I think just based on what we've been seeing here, most likely Henry Bennett will probably be the first that would have to pit. And I say you see that gap that Charles Teed has behind Henry Bennett. I think Charles, again, he's probably working his fuel maps and of course working that throttle, trying to save as much fuel as possible in that 5 car. Again, see if he can maybe make some sort of strategy happen during the pit stop cycle as well.
And I noticed that pretty much, well, at least the top 7 are going down to the low line on the straightaways to prevent anybody from getting underneath each other. So it's basically it's like a super speedway race in the Cup cars right now.
Yeah, so the new package of the Cup cars, not doing what a lot of drivers would be hoping them to do. But you're right, though. Right now, just everybody really just hugging that inside line. Say there's not a lot that you can do in the middle of the top line. You see the 30 of David Payton, say Michael Spell tried to see if he could peek underneath, couldn't quite do it. You see again Eric Schaus trying to make something happen up on the top side as well, but I'm surprised. I really thought the inside line would start kind of checking up a lot and would really bring in the outside line to be able to at least work their way towards like that top 3, top 5 or so. But it just seems like just that overall pace, even in the back of this group here, they're just able to hold that pace right now that Henry Bennett's putting on. So to say right now, I think everybody's just really just at this point just playing the strategy game, which right now we're probably just under halfway through the fuel run as we start lap 21 coming through to 22. So say that's going to be the next thing, of course, is who's going to be able to make their pit stops win. And this is a very tricky pit stop, or pit road, I should say, to enter with any cars, much less the Indy cars. When you're going about 200 miles an hour, 195 through the turns, you're going to have to try to get this thing woed down on the apron, then down to 35 miles an hour, Steve. So say if we get to that point, that's going to be a very difficult situation for these drivers to negotiate.
Yeah, definitely. It's tough to hit the pits right at this track, no matter what car you're in. And the entrance of pit road comes on pretty suddenly. You have to be down on the apron, and you have to be slowed down enough. And if you're not, you're either going to miss it completely, or you're going to run head on into the end of pit wall, which I've done at least once.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't even try to keep count of how many times I've had something like that happen. I see Matt Wagner. I think he's trying to work. No, I think it was David Payton getting around him. You see again Eric Schaus still trying to work that top. So you see Ivan Pla doing the same now in that 75. Again, he's 4 down at the moment. So he kind of has the opportunities to do that. And actually, he's doing pretty well in this top side. So he's not really dropping as I thought he might. So it's going to be curious to see on the pit strategy as well. And with these cars too, Steve, it's just, again, we talked about how sensitive they are to the transition of banking. And so I worry that they may not be able to enter the pits off of 3 and 4. They might have to actually get down to that apron on the backstretch entering turn number 3, just to avoid the risk of spinning out with that banking transition when they start slowing down for a pit road entry. Yeah,
that's a really good point, Kyle. I don't know. I mean, I did hit the apron a few times in practice, just trying to keep it as low as possible, and it didn't really upset the car. But when you're braking really hard and making that somewhat sharper left turn to get onto the apron, it could definitely upset the car. Oh my God.
We got trouble. Eric Schaus in contact. I think it was with Ivan Pla in the 65. We stay green for the moment. So say we're going to keep an eye and see if he can limp this thing back to the pits. But that's going to be a huge disadvantage for Eric here. So he's going to try to get this thing back here. So you can see that right front tire flopping around, the rear spoiler hanging down as well. I say he's going to be in a tough position here, and I'm not sure. I say we'll go back and try to take a look at it. We're figuring try to see if he's able to make it back to the pits. You see he's still limping along here. So say while he does that, say they're able to clear him. So we'll go back and take a quick look.
Eric he almost got a run on the outside of Michael's spell, but it didn't quite work, and he had to check up going into turn 3.
Yeah, so I have it pulled up here. Oh, and yeah, you're right. He had to check up a little bit. I think it looks like Ivan Pla gets into the left rear of him, and so I think it was those two that made the contact. And actually, I can't remember now, Steve, but was it those two just on the opposite side that made their contact between each other earlier as well?
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'll say not going to put any conspiracy theories out there, but you kind of wonder. It's just I don't think there's any intention there, but I'd say it's really unfortunate. I'm saying that was the worry I had about that kind of the accordion effect we had talked about. So right now Eric was able to get his fast repair, get serviced, and he's back out. Right now showing 3 laps down. Ivan's still 4 down, so he does have the advantage at least of that. And the other thing, of course, is these leaders are going to be having to pit here in probably about 10 more laps, Steve. So this, if it all cycles out, if he could get a timely caution, this could maybe get him to the point of being back to just 1 lap down and being in that lucky dog position to maybe get back on lead lap pending a caution. So I'll say definitely all not lost for Eric yet, but obviously not what he wanted to have here early on, because again, with this playoff system, I mean, just one bad race and you're in a really big hole for that second race before you go from that cut from the 8 to 4.
Yeah, definitely, because it's only a 2-race. This is only a 2-race segment, so if you lose a lot of points to the top guys, it's hard to make that up.
Yeah, it definitely is accurate there. So I'll have to ask about. I'm not sure if it's like with NASCAR with their current playoffs where it's a win and you're in, because that might be the opportunity for Eric, depending on how the rest of this race goes, where maybe he wins the next race and he just locks in regardless of where he is on points, and then kind of lets the chips fall where they may for the remaining drivers. So I'll have to ask about that, because that could also be a big part of this as well. So right now, though, say we're on lap number 38. So again, we talked about that fuel window. I think it's going to be in that mid to low 40 range. We had that 1 caution, Steve. So again, I feel like maybe 45, somewhere in that range, I think might be about the window for, at least for Henry Bennett again, as I think he's probably having to go max fuel burn on that in that 007 car.
Yeah, and I suspect that means he'll probably be the first of everyone to pit. And then, will they all decide to pit with him, or are they going to stay out for another lap or two?
If it's me, if I'm in that position of like a Charles Teed right now in that second spot, if I can run further than Henry, I do. I run this thing dry, honestly, because I think you just, again, we talked about how short how slow the pit speed is, and then again these guys putting down 18-second laps right now. I feel like that's gonna be the best bet, is to go as far as you can, because if you catch a yellow with other guys having made their pit stop ready, there's gonna be a lot of drivers trapped possibly 1-2 laps down here. So I think you try to stretch this thing as far as you can the rest of this fuel run.
Well, here's something interesting that may possibly counter that. Eric Schaus right now is running 18.4s, and Henry Bennett is running 18.9s. So there seems to be an advantage to new tires, pretty significant one.
Yeah, half a second on fresh tires for Eric Schaus. You're right. So it definitely, definitely has some pace. I'm sure also probably driving with the bit against his teeth as well. Some of those times you kind of get the red mist. You start getting pretty aggressive. Start getting a little bit faster there as well. So, but yeah, I'll say right now, Eric about a half lap behind the leaders again. Unfortunately, still 3 down. But still, again, long ways to go here. And like I said, if they can get to this caution flag, if they can get to this pit stop and can catch a caution, I think that could put him in a really good position here. However, we're on lap 44, Steve, so this is right around that window I just mentioned. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye. Here comes Henry Bennett. Just what I talked about.
Oh, my God.
God. Oh, I don't know if there's contact or not. Henry's around. So far, no yellow. I think Chad Wilkes. Oh, yeah, Chad Wilkes. He got a piece of it. No, he's got contact from behind as well. And he is up and over. I'm trying to see who's gotten to the back of him. I think it was the 90 of John Brill. So, unfortunately, a lot of drivers having difficulty. You see Henry actually trying to limp this car back to the pit. So, everything is just all shaken up right now. You see Charles Teed. He hits the pit road, as does Michael Spell. That's going to bring Craig Forsyth to the point. Let's go back. I'll say, let me know if anything happens here, Steve. I'm going to jump back and take a look while this is all going on.
Okay. I don't know why Henry didn't go in the pits. He was right at the entrance. Maybe he was thinking a yellow would come out or something, but he's cost himself dearly.
Yeah, it's very possible. You see as he enters turn 3, just gets too high. Watch that Craig with quick reactions there. But I think a little bit of contact between himself and Chad Wilkes, and you see Ivan plotting over for Ivan to go. He gets into the back of that 17 as well, and at that point, Chad's just along for the ride, unfortunately. And then you can see everybody's trying to avoid him. Then, unfortunately, the 90 John Brill, just wrong place, wrong time. He gets into the back of him. So he has been able to get to the pits. I think he had to take a tow. Is on the fast repair now. And so as I say that now, Craig Forsyth's in the pits, almost hit the outside of the pit wall there, Steve. I think he got off of it just in time. And so right now, though, the driver who topped off, that one driver we talked about, Bud Steele, he's now showing as our race leader. Him and Dwight Plush, they got about 4 seconds apart between the two of them. So now we'll see how far can Bud go on this pit cycle, because right now he's got about a 2-lap lead on all these drivers that just made their pit stops.
I'm curious to see if Craig Forsyth's going to get a speeding penalty here.
So they're trying to look at his pit stop time. Yeah, you're right. He's in the pits right now.
No,
he's down and away. He hit it just perfectly.
Wow.
So, but yeah. So right now, though, what's happening again? We're looking at the counter here, and so Bud Steele again. He's probably going to have to pit very shortly. And I say it looks like he's actually ducking in now. Here he comes in the 6th car. So he stretched it as far as he could. That will leave now the 44 of Dwight Plush. Nope, Dwight's already in the pits as well. So now it's all about who's cycling out where, which right now I believe it's going to be Craig Forsyth cycled through as our leader after the pit stop cycles will complete. And we mentioned Eric Shaw, Steve. Right now, I say I'm waiting for everything to completely cycle through, but I think this would actually bump Eric now back into just 1 lap down territory. But to say now he's going to need to have a caution within the next 20 or so laps to kind of help, hopefully get everything cycled back for his best case scenario.
Yep, although it seems like the best the best chance of that happening is on pit stops. Kind of like you were warning, pit stops are going to be really tough for these guys with that transition and the tough pit entry, and we've seen a number of mistakes and near costly mistakes.
Yeah, so I'm letting everything kind of update. So I think right now I think I see Eric Shaw's showing as in the 11th position, just 1 down. However, he can see Craig Forsyth. So I'm going to look at his lap times right now. He's running 18.4s to Craig's 18.3, so they're right on top of one another on their lap times. Of course, Eric, he's got pretty much a crowd there behind him with the 5 of Charles Teed, the 11 of Matt Wagner. They are 2nd and 3rd, and then right behind them is that 17 of Chad Wilkes. He's 2 down right now after taking that fast repair. And then Henry Bennett, unfortunately, Steve, he is 4 laps down in the 15th position. So yeah, just that one cycle so far has really shaken up this whole points picture here.
Yep, it definitely has.
So right now we'll jump back a little further. You see Jim Brooks there in 4th, Michael Spell in the 5th positions. So after they're in a nice little pocket here just with the 2 of them. They've got a pretty big gap over Bud Steele, who is in 6th. He's got Alec Coates and James Ledford right with him, along with that 007 of Henry Bennett. And then we'll jump just a little bit further back as well. Then you're going to pick up David Payne there in the 10th position. And then right in front of him is Jimmy Drennan. He's trying to work around right now. And say right now David Payne, the last car on the lead lap, about 5 seconds ahead of the leaders, which I say not a lot though when you think about the pace of this track right now. He's got probably about a straightaway advantage over Craig Forsyth as things run here. And
Eric Schaust was just kind enough to let the guys on faster or on newer tires go by, which is Charles Teed, Matt Wagner, and Chad Wilkes, who are all running together trying to catch Craig Forsyth, and I think they are starting to run him down.
Yeah, they've gotten into that window. I think, Steve, are going to pick up the toe off that 27 car. They're going to start closing the gap. As I'm sure Craig enjoyed that clean air that he had without anybody around him for a couple of laps here at least. But yeah, I think he's going to have his mirrors full pretty shortly of those guys behind. And I'm saying this is going to again be another thing here because Chad Wilkes, he's 2 down right now. And I say he's on basically the same pit cycle as these guys, but again had to take that toe. And I say that's what really hurt him in the 17 car. So what he's going to have to do here is, I mean, his goal, I think, is going to be to try to get around these 3 cars in front of him and get back to just 1 lap down to put him in a much better position, again, pending a timely caution to hopefully bring him back into the mix here as well.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like his best odds of getting up to 1 lap down.
Yeah, so right now as things roll still, so right now Eric Schau still only car 1 lap down. Say Jimmy Dryden and David Payne, they are about still 5 seconds ahead of our race leader. And yeah, here it goes. Let's say there goes Chad Wilkes. He's going to look to the outside of Matt Wagner. But again, say unfortunately, just everybody's hugging that inside line, so there's not really anywhere for him to go at this point. But I think actually, I think Matt maybe rolled out of it just a little bit here. I think Chad is just going to try to get everything he can here. And I think, again, I think this is where Charles and Matt kind of have to think about the big picture. And say they know he's 2 down, so you probably don't want to fight him too hard because you know he's going to be trying to get every spot he can to try to get back in that into that 1 down position here.
And just after you say that, they put him back to the 4th in line.
Yeah, so he's not going to give up, though. You know he's going to keep working that top side. As I say that, he jumps back to the top side again there in that 17. It's just, again, this track is just right now, the setup just really drives well. So unfortunately, he's just not able to do anything with it. And so what he's going to have to do here is just, I think, kind of have to just cruise right now. And I think, like you said, Steve, just maybe try to make the pit stop work for him. As we saw Craig Forsyth, he was able to give himself a little bit of a buffer for a few laps at least under that first stop. So we have 60 to go already, Steve, on this one. So the fuel only says about 40 laps, so they're on lap 18. So I think basically about 20 to 24 more laps for a lot of these drivers. I think this will be their next and final scheduled stop of the race, and I think actually probably will be their final stop of the race. Track position just clearly too crucial here tonight.
Yeah, that sounds about right by my calculations also. And, Eric Schaus, despite having much older tires than these guys, is still able to hang on to that lead draft. And
yeah.
I wonder if he's able to save enough fuel to give him some extra cushion, hoping for that caution to come out.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to be on just absolute full fuel save right now in that 72 car, Steve, because right now he's on lap 39 since he last pitted. So based on our math, I mean, I think he could go about 5 more laps, which would get him to about 50, just over 50 to go. So if he could stretch his fuel just a little bit further, say maybe actually get into the higher 40s on his fuel mileage, that could get him where he could make it to the end. But he's going to have to be really aggressive and really save hard here. But again, what he's going to want to have happen, though, is he needs, basically, once he makes his pit stop, he needs it to cycle all the way through where all the other leaders make their stops as well, and then get that caution and bring him back into the mix here. But right now he's trying to make the best of a bad situation. He has gained a handful of spots just through the pit stop miscues there on that first stop. So it'll be interesting to see. But right now, again, you see Craig Forsyth still leading the way. And like we mentioned, Chad Wilkes just needs to do anything he can to try to get up to that 27 car and get that back to 1 down here, which I think he's got a good chance here. He's up against Charles Teed there for that in that second position, so we'll see if maybe he can keep that momentum rolling up top.
I couldn't tell what happened, but Charles Teed really fell off there for a moment, and that's what enabled Chad Wilkes to get all the way up alongside him.
Yes, I'm sure Chad right now is just wanting somebody to kind of give him that little bit of a tow, like probably just almost like see if he can get Craig to run that top side to help him get that draft down the straightaways. But again, of course, Craig, he's going to be doing everything he can to manage his lead right here. So we talked about Craig was one of those drivers entering tonight's race. Didn't have a win this season, but we talked about we did think there'd be at least a couple drivers with the opportunities to get that first win tonight. And I say right now, Craig still again long ways to go, but he's put himself in a good position. And I say and Steve Eric Schaus, he hits the pits with 43 laps on that fuel run, and we were coming across here 51 to go. So unfortunately, I don't think that number is going to be able to make it to the end for him if we stay green here.
Let's see, 43 and 73 is 116, and we have to get to 125.
Yeah, so he's going to be about 10 laps shy, it looks like. So now the next question is, do any of these drivers risk pitting early here to try to get, maybe try to jump with those fresh tires or not? It's like, because right now we're 50 to go, so we think that pit window probably will open again in about 6 more laps, I'd say maybe 7. Just to have that little bit of buffer. I think everybody's going to probably pit closer to about 40 to go on the dot. But right now, though, I mean, Craig Forsyth, he was actually one of the later pitters. He pitted the same lap as Matt Wagner, and Charles Teed pitted 3 laps prior to them. And we saw how aggressive Craig was there on that entry, Steve, and I think that's what was able to get him that lead there.
Yep, that's true. Well, it looked like an almost terrible mistake. Uh-oh. I think we just lost Chad Wilkes.
Oh, yeah, Chad Wilkes stuck in the wall. Hasn't brought out a caution yet, but I say that pace is going to slowly drop. There it goes. Caution is out, unfortunately, for that 17 of Chad Wilkes. And I think that's going to be his second fast repair, Steve, so that might be it for him tonight. And that's going to be a very tough start to the playoffs for him. Let's see what happened here. And so I know we talked about during practice as well the potential risk of netcode and things of that nature. We'll have to see if that came into play here or not. So you see the 17 and oh yeah, it looked like just they weren't really even close to each other, and then just all of a sudden Chad's car just like kind of just turned on him as if he got hooked there, and I don't think that was the case. So that's going to bring out the caution. That's going to bring drivers into the pits. That was not what Eric Schaus was hoping for. He needed that to happen just a few laps earlier. And the other thing, Steve, is we're going to be pitting here, coming to 46 to go. This is going to be right on the absolute edge of this fuel window, maybe even a little over it. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this pit stop strategy goes here.
Yep, and you have to wonder, is anyone going to top off at the end of this?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Unfortunately, it does look like Chad has retired from the 17, so that's going to drop him. Like I said, unfortunately, going to really hurt him in the standings. And it looks like, Charles Teed with a great pit stop. I think some strategy there, Steve. I think he did fuel only in that 5 car to be able to cycle out in front of Craig Forsyth in that 27 car. So Charles opted for some strategy here. However, we did have one driver. We'll see if he comes in next time around or not. But Bud Steele, he actually stays out in that 6 car. But he can only go about 10, maybe 15 more laps before he would have to make his green flag pit stop.
I can't imagine that he's not going to pit here.
Bud's a bit of a contrarian on his pit stop cycles. I say he was the one to top off that last time. I think that's what he's doing here. So okay, everybody's going to pit. I'm going to stay out. And actually, what this really does too, Steve, is he traps a lot of those drivers that were going to maybe try to get away around and get back on the lead lap. He's going to trap them, and you see all those drivers jumping into the pits right away there. The Henry Bennett, Eric Schaus, they were in position there to get away around, get one of their laps back. But with Bud staying out there, it actually traps them behind, so it's going to actually hurt them with their chances. So a little bit of strategy call actually is going to affect a few of our playoff guys here as well.
And I'm sure they are great Bud Steele fans right now.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. And so you want things to go the way you want and need them to, but at the same time though, again, that's what's tricky about these races is Bud's gonna be going for the win here tonight. Jim Brooks, Alec Coates, James Ledford, Jimmy Drynan, they're all in it. They're not in the playoff hunt, but they're gonna want to win these races as well. So it's one of those things where you're in your own little battle, but then you're in a whole separate battle all at the same time. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see here. So like we mentioned though, so Bud Steele, he's gonna have to pit probably about 15 more laps under green. The rest of the field here, they're gonna be right on the absolute edge of that fuel window, Steve, because right now we're at 45 to go, gonna come across to 44 to go. which I believe would mean we would restart this race with 43 laps to go. We do have a few drivers topping off here, Steve, like you talked about. James Ledford, David Payton, Jimmy Drynan, Eric Schaus, he's going to top off as well. And also Dwight Plush in the 44. So we do have a few drivers that are doing exactly what you talked about, Steve, topping off there. Say David Payton being one of those playoff contenders to do so.
Yeah, what that means, if this thing stays green and the ones who didn't top off can't make it, that puts David Payton in a good spot to win this race. Or did you say Michael Spell pitted or no?
No, David Payton did. Michael Spell is in the 6th position, right behind the 76 of Jim Brooks. But I actually think, honestly, this will sound crazy, but I think the driver that might be in the worst spot right now is going to be the 5 of Charles Teed after all this, because he's going to be the one, once Bud pits, he's going to be the one leading the field. And from there, you can't save fuel as a leader. At least I wouldn't think you could. So it'll be very intriguing to see, just because we saw Henry Bennett. He had to pit a lap before Charles Teed did under that first green flag run. So would that put the 5 car here in a deficit on this restart?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I wonder whether you could play with your fuel mapping,
Green flag.
or your engine mapping. I mean, give yourself a little bit less power and still make it impossible for people to pass you.
Yeah, it's going to be a good question. We're going to find out. We're back underway. You saw Bud Steele went early there. So again, everybody's going to start gathering back up there. But so say again, we suspect we'll see Bud here in probably about 10-15 laps in that 6 machine. And then that'll, pending how things cycle through here, but that should cycle the lead back over to Charles Teed. And then we're going to have our three of our playoff drivers running 1, 2, 3 once that pit stop cycle happens. Right now they are in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then Michael Spell in 6th. So right now we got half of our playoff drivers in that top 6 in the running order here.
No, I was trying to think just what exactly would be Bud Steele's path to victory here, since he has to pit and we're not sure any of the rest of them have to.
That's a good question.
I guess he's hoping for yellow to come out in the next 10 laps.
Yeah, so maybe just hoping for a timely caution to maybe bring him right back into the mix here. It'll be interesting to see, but I think right now, like I said, I think the ones that are going to be, again, just the fuel savings are going to be Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, Jim Brooks, Michael Spell. They're all in this tow here, and so they're going to be able to save while still keeping up with the lead pack. I think you see right now that, Steve, that gap between Bud Steele and Charles Teed, I think this tells us everything we need to know. Charles definitely on full conserve right now in that 5 machine.
Yep, and I guess it's a big advantage for Charles Teed that Bud Steele stayed out.
Yeah, this could actually be a break. You're exactly right, Steve. This could be actually a big break for Charles. Let's say this is going to be giving him, like we talked about, maybe that 10, 15 laps of green flag running with being able to use that fuel save strategy. But we talked about just how hard it is to pass on the outside line. I wonder, could Charles actually even be able to hold the lead when he is the leader? Even maybe running a slightly leaner fuel map instead of having to go full rich. So it'll be, I'll say right now, it's kind of a fuel strategy race as things run here. If there's a yellow, I think everybody's in their window at that point, and I don't think we'll see anybody make a pit stop. Everybody's going to be all about that track position. So yeah, right now I think Charles is probably just trying to save every drop he can, and then hope that he's going to be in that window to make it to the end here.
Yep, I agree with everything you just said.
However, he's going to have to be careful. He saw Craig Forsyth just peek a little bit there down the backstretch, so it wasn't close enough to do anything with it. But so again, I think that's what we're seeing, Steve, is these guys, again, we know they can't really pass very easily on the outside line, but at the same time, I think these guys are all watching that field map here. So the question will be, if at some point somebody says, okay, I know I'm good to the end, I'm going to be going full rich, and then can they actually do anything on that outside line? But just again, based on what we've seen, it's going to be probably kind of a low line party here. I think it's just going to be that difficult to pass on that top side. But at some point someone's going to try. It's just the question is going to be who and when.
Yeah, I would say maybe Craig Forsyth on the last lap.
Yeah, so he might be right. Let's say the thing is, I'll say Craig's got to be careful, of course, because if he makes the wrong move, Matt Wagner is going to try to take advantage and maybe grab that second spot. We talked about Charles Teed. He started off the season 3 wins in a row to open up the season. So maybe he's going to try to see if he can maybe close out the season 3 wins in a row to kind of bookend it. So right now in a really good spot. 31 to go. Next time by 30 to go. Again, we talked about that fuel window. Again, it's going to be something that we're going to be watching because, and it's here comes Bud Steele. He is going to hit pit road now in that 6 car. Looks like he gets it nice and woe down without any troubles here. This will actually be a good test as well, Steve, to see how many spots do you actually lose through a pit cycle as the leader. Again, I think it's going to be most likely 2 laps for that 6 car, so we'll have to wait and see as he cycles through here.
Yeah, I'm curious about that as well, and I'm also curious to see what Charles T does because we now have 30 laps to go, and he's got the lead, the clean air, and no draft to save fuel.
Yeah, exactly right. I say one of the best things he could have happen is maybe tag onto the back of somebody. But right now, saying, yeah, here comes Bud Steele. He's just leaving his pit box now, so he does go 2 down, just like we predicted there, Steve. So I'd say we talked about the green flag pit stops window, and you see Craig Forsyth starting to get a little more aggressive, trying to see if he can find something to happen. But I mean, Charles is not going to give up that inside line. He's going to have to protect it for all he's worth. So you gotta. It's going to be a kind of a bit of a what's the word for it? Kind of a balance where you're going to want to kind of hug the white line, but you obviously want to kind of keep your tires under you where you can let it wash up a little bit, but you can't risk Craig being able to kind of undercut you there as well.
Yeah, I have to wonder if oh, here he goes.
Oh, Craig found a way to squeeze underneath. Now the question is, can Matt fill the gap? He can. And so that was what we talked about. Could Charles hold that bottom? And I say he gave just that little bit there, and he was able to get, Craig was able to sneak underneath, but you see Joe Brooks, he was able to squeeze in there, but in front of the 76 car. And I do wonder, though, Steve, is that maybe a strategy call, though, by that 5, not feeling comfortable on fuel? He said, you know what, I got to roll back here. I know it's going to cost me spots, but I got to do something to make sure I can make it to the end.
Yeah, it's possible that he did that. But I also think the fact that Craig Forsyth made such an aggressive move to get the lead with this many laps to go suggests to me that he thinks he can make it.
Yeah, and he's starting to drive very defensively too, Steve. You see he's not giving an inch off that bottom line when he gets to the straightaways. He saw off of turn number 2 there. He went straight to the difference, or the gap between the concrete and the asphalt. So, yeah, I think Craig doing it exactly like you talked about, Steve. I think he must be feeling good about that fuel mileage. You see a few drivers starting to move around a little bit. Jimmy Drynan, he's trying to do something on that top side. So he wants to find a way to work forward as well. Right now, it just isn't panning out too well for him. However, he is still holding pretty steady. You can see what he's doing here. He's actually running pretty much all to rim riding here, just really trying to keep the momentum built up on that 99 car. And it actually seems like it's starting to work a little bit here, Steve.
Well, especially if there's anything going on up front there where they've lowered or changed the engine mapping to conserve fuel a little bit.
That's a good point. Because right now, I mean, you see Jimmy Drynan, he's worked his way up to about the 4th position, now starting to get to the 3rd position of the 5 of Charles Teed. And look who he's brought with him, too, the 38 of David Payne. We talked about David. He is one of those guys that topped off. Right now, the 99 and the 38 both topped off here, and they are starting to make a charge. You see the 99 is able to get to the 3rd position here now. Again, now it's just going to be all about if they can keep that momentum up. And like I said, if they're running that lower fuel map on the inside line, this could be enough for these guys to try to make something happen up top.
Yeah, and if the guys at the bottom are still trying to conserve fuel, then that's causing some accordion stuff to go on down there, and helping these 2 guys on the outside line get to the front.
Yeah, I mean, you see there, Jimmy Drynan, he's worked his way next to Matt Wagner. Now he's trying to work the top side here. And I mean, look at the momentum he's building. He's now next to the race leader of Craig Forsyth here. So I think this is possible here. I think, say, with that fuel mileage risk that we got going on here, it's opened the door for these guys. They're going to go a little more aggressive. And I say he's been able to work his way to to about the 1st or 2nd, 3rd position here. Now just can he get that little bit extra to try to work his way all the way to the point.
Yep, and this also, it puts a lot of pressure on Craig Forsyth, because if he is trying to save fuel, he's got to kind of abandon that strategy or risk letting those 2 guys get by.
Yeah, so I was going to say, for Craig, it may not be the worst thing to let the 99 by, because Jimmy's not a playoff contender. But at the same time, we talk about we're not 100% sure on the if it's a win and you advance kind of a thing. So if it is, I mean, Craig's going to definitely want to hold that lead and try to hold on to the win. So we got 15 to go here, Steve. Crossing the line is going to be 14 left. And I think we're also going to start seeing a little bit of probably some aggression pickup as well here. But right now, say Jimmy Dryden, he's definitely done a really good job. He's worked his way up into that second position. And he's trying to see if he can do anything to get that last little bit to get around that 27 car.
Does side drafting do anything in these cars?
I'm not sure, and I'd be afraid to try.
I was just wondering because Jimmy Dryden, if you look at how he enters the turn, he goes in pretty low, kind of diamonds it, and comes off low. And it's sort of like what you would do if you were trying to side draft on the cars.
Yeah, and it's a good question because, and again, so we talked about that kind of that risk versus reward thing where I say obviously for Jimmy, if he could keep the 27 pinched a little lower, that'll help his exit speeds in that 99 car to maybe gain some momentum on the exits of 2 and 4 here. But at the same time, we saw what happened with Chad Wilkes, unfortunately, where they didn't actually make contact, but unfortunately the iRacing netcode, it was enough where on their end, iRacing decided that there was contact, and unfortunately Chad got the worst of that. And right now, these guys are side by side at the line, Steve. There, I don't know who had the lead there at the line, but we got 10 to go here, so it's about to be all to play for. You see Matt Wagner, he's starting to try to make some moves as well.
Yeah, this is where the aggression starts.
Yeah, so again, one thing to mention is we do not have green-white checkers here at the Indy Series, so we will finish at lap 125, regardless if it's under green or under yellow. But you see Matt Wagner, he is starting to try to figure out something he can do with that 27 of Craig Force. I see one driver hit the pits there. That was John Brill in the 90. Unfortunately, he was not able to stretch his fuel any further. But right now, we're still holding pretty steady here. Up front, there's been a few times Jimmy could have tried to drop to the inside line. I was curious to see if he might try to do so, but I think he's in the best position for himself right now. So again, these laps clicking off very quickly, Steve. 7 to go here. I say Jimmy Dryden just a nose ahead there, entering turn number 1. This is gonna be tight here if this can keep up like they are at it.
Do you know if Jimmy Dryden and David Payne are teammates? Maybe he's trying to help David.
I am not sure if they are or not, but I know they both were ones that topped off there. And I almost wondered too if it was maybe one of those things where David saw Jimmy kind of once they topped off, saw Jimmy go to the front and made some progress, and David's like, you know what, I gotta try this too, because right now, I mean, it's been working, but you look now they're starting to fall back just a little bit. I'm wondering if Craig may be turning the wick up here as we cross 5 to go.
Yeah, I think that could be what happened. Maybe he hit that point where he saved enough fuel.
Craig's a sneaky one. He's got his fuel numbers too. He knows exactly what he needs to do. So right now 4 to go here. So things just about winding down. You can see again Jimmy's starting to pick up the pace just a little bit again here. But I'm also watching Matt Wagner. I think he's starting to roll back a little bit, see if he can maybe get that big toe and try to get a big pull to the front here as well. As we cross the line next time by, 3 to go here. It's Dover, Steve.
Really good battle between our 4 playoff drivers that are still on the lead lap.
Yeah, right now we've got Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, David Payne, Charles Teed right there in the top 5. Michael Spell's right there in 7th, right behind Jim Brooks. Michael's also in a good spot here to try to maybe capitalize should something happen, and you just saw it did. I think Jimmy Dryden, he's out of fuel, Steve, in that 99 car. Pushed it too hard, not enough to make it to the end, but was able to get out of the way without causing an incident. So that's going to move David Payton towards the front here. And to make matters even crazier, Steve, here comes some lap traffic in front of our leaders as we get the white flag here at Dover.
Ooh, thankfully they made it through there.
All right, so now the question is, does anybody have enough fuel to make it to the end? Or you see Matt Wagner, he's going to work the top, try to get the momentum. He's going to try to slow David Payton down on the inside. Out of 4, contact in the back. I think Craig Forsyth is going to get the win over Matt Wagner, David Payton in 3rd. And then it was a melee in the back, and I think Charles Teed, Steve, is going to get the worst out of all that. So it looks like he's going to fall all the way back to the 8th position with that contact.
That's a shame.
Let's go back and see what happened there at the finish here. So I'm wondering if maybe Charles had a bit of a sputter at the end. You see Jim Brooks peeking to the outside. So you can see he's losing pace to the guys in front of him. I think you might be right, Steve. I think he may have ran out of fuel just out of turn number 3 and 4. And then, Michael Spell gets into the back of him, unfortunately. And then from there, just nothing that anybody else can do in order to go. You see Jim Brooks just sneak by on the outside. He's going to grab the 4th position in the 76 car. But you look behind them and say actually kind of a wild finish to the end. James Ledford, he's going to find his way sideways across line for top 5. Michael Spell sliding across to 6th. Alec Coates, you saw him sliding as well in the 7th position. And then Charles T, we mentioned, in that 8th spot. So unfortunately loses a few spots there at the end. Just that fuel mileage just wasn't quite there for him. I think it was like we talked about, Steve, he was definitely trying to save. Just wasn't quite enough for it. But all said and done, though, Craig Forsyth, he pulls off the win here tonight. Matt Wagner's going to grab 2nd. And David Payne, he topped off, Steve. He was able to be that little bit more aggressive. He's going to grab that 3rd position here tonight.
Yep, all 3 playoff drivers. And then we got Jim Brooks and James Ledford kind of interrupting the party a little bit. Michael Spell, who snuck in to the playoffs in that last race with just an amazing run and bad luck by Anders Arhus. So for him to come back 4th out of the playoff drivers, pretty damn good. And then Charles Teed, very unfortunate. His fuel didn't quite make it, but he still finished as 5th among the playoff drivers. So
yeah, and that's a good point, Steve, because then those that didn't have the runs they're looking for, you got Eric Schaus, Henry Bennett, Chad Wilkes, 12th, 13th, and 16th respectively. So that's a really good point, Steve. Let's say even with the incident at the end there, it's still overall a pretty good points day for him in that number 5 car.
Definitely. So that means we're going to go into the next race, which is the last one of this segment, where the top 4 make it, and it's going to be pretty rough battle between the guys that didn't quite have the race they needed to tonight. We've got 3 guys that are sitting in the catbird seat, which is Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, and David Payton, finishing 1st through 3rd.
That's exactly right. And we got to start off with David Payne in that number 38 car. I've been talking with David a little bit here and there, and he's been mentioning he's wanted to get back up into the interview room, Steve, here with us, and he was able to get it done tonight. We talked about, would anybody make that strategy, maybe try taking that splash of fuel at the end, because it was right on the edge of that fuel window. And David, you were the only playoff driver to take that risk, and obviously it worked out. You're able to work your way to the front there, but how many heartbeats did you have skip there at the end when you saw that 99 run out of fuel right in front of you?
I'm not really sure my heart's beating yet, to be honest with you. I may be dead right now, but yeah, that was another nail biter with Area 51. Really fun race. That first pit cycle really kind of jumbled things up. I made the mistake. I didn't make it on the pit road. Had to come around. Ran out of fuel. Put me in the back, and so after the final round of pit stops, and then me and Jimmy, I think it was Jimmy or maybe it was James, I came down with somebody, I know, another car or two, to get that last splash, and I just had it in fuel map 3 and then 4 for a while, and then really lifting and trying to stay behind the pack to where I could use the draft to keep up with me. And then I at a certain point, I'm like, I'm not really sure if I have enough yet to finish this, but I saw Jimmy going to the front on the outside, and I'm like, I'm hooking on, and just hooked up with him, and we went to the front, and I ran out of fuel about the same time that I don't know if Craig ran out or not, but I sputtered right before the line, so it was really, really close.
Yeah, you did. And we saw a few drivers just a little bit shy actually coming across the line, and obviously track position was critical. We saw if you're be on the low line, that was going to be what you needed to have happen to hold the best position you could. But really, I feel like that caution probably came out at just about the perfect time for you guys, for kind of to be some strategy and to try to roll the dice, like I said, because it was going to be on the edge. We knew no matter what. But then at some point we saw you and Jimmy. You guys jumped to the top and you're like, okay, we're going for it. We're gonna see if we can make something happen. And I think that's exactly like you said. I think that fuel map setting. I think those guys on that inside line were going kind of full fuel save. And then you were able to kind of be that little bit more aggressive with that. Maybe I was saying again, maybe like what, probably extra like half a gallon, something like that. But obviously, I mean that was enough to make that big difference tonight.
Yeah, it was just a couple of tenths, really. Not even a half gallon, but that was enough. And that it was. I mean, I knew those guys in front had to be saving fuel. There's just no way they couldn't. You're right. That I needed that caution to come out to bring me back around. After that terrible first pit cycle, I needed something to happen to bring me back around to the leaders because I was close to being the last car in the lead lap, and it came out at the right time and gave me that always interesting option of what do we do here? Do we play the fuel game? Do I go all out and hope for another caution? And usually I go with go all out and hope for another caution, and it always burns me in this league because these guys have gotten so good at keeping the cautions to a minimum. So this time I finally went the other direction, and it just worked out for me. So that was a lot of fun.
David, when you were following Jimmy, when you finally decided to go to the outside, did you go to the I don't even know what you call it, the strongest engine mapping?
Yeah,
The one.
yeah, yep. I put it on one and I started hooping and hollering on the radio with Jimmy. I'm like, let's go, Jimmy, hammer down, let's go. And it was that I was having. I really like this track. I like racing this car track combo. Even though tonight, man, the area Matt and the setup builders at Area 51 really knocked it out of the park. It was such a good handling car in traffic. It handled like a dream, and it almost handled too good to the point where you couldn't get an edge on really anybody if they were pinned to the inside. Um, so when I saw Jimmy making headway, and I knew those guys up there had to be saving fuel, and I looked down to kind of see how much fuel do I have left. Do I have enough to make it? I'm not sure. Time to go is now. So I put it in fuel map one and just went hammered down and tried to stay as tucked in as close to Jimmy as I can. It was almost like a cup race at Talladega or something. It was
Yeah, we were
weird.
comparing it to that.
Yeah, it was really weird, but it was fun and interesting, and yeah, it was good.
How's
So,
oh, so go ahead, Steve.
so I was thinking when Craig saw you coming, I was thinking, that's putting pressure on him. He's probably going to have to turn his fuel mapping up, and I wonder like how much he did, because you guys had such a head of steam up there. It's like they might be going to the front.
Yeah, it was looking really good. And then Jimmy ran out. Jimmy came on the radio with like 3 to go, and he's like, I'm not gonna make it. Not gonna make it. And then he went to the outside and I squeezed underneath him, and then I don't even remember what happened. I know it was me, Craig, and Matt, and I tried to cross over on Matt and get underneath him, and then I just started sputtering, and I think I could have maybe grabbed second spot, but I sputtered, maybe 50 feet before the line. I got to go back and look at the replay, but um, yeah, that was good. That was good stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was let's say that ending. Like I said, I think just the way everything panned out with the fuel mileage and the way this track drove and everything, it was pretty much, I think, about the perfect combo that you could have had for a race to the finish there at the end. So obviously, say the big picture, we're looking for the go from that playoff 8 to playoff 4. So say obviously a really good start for you, getting that third place tonight. So I'll say I don't even have on my calendar what we got next coming up on the list here, but obviously I'm sure that's something on your mind as well. Probably a pretty good start to lead off this playoff kick here.
Yeah, I think I know Homestead is in there. I think next is Homestead, and
Yep,
then
you're right.
And then I can't remember where we're finishing at.
Yeah, Homestead's next week, and the finale is Texas.
Texas, yeah, Texas. Okay, so yeah, it's definitely I want it because I know this competition is stacked, and let's be honest, I think that one of the only reasons I was able to finally crack up into the top 3 and say hello to you guys again was because guys like Henry got wrecked in a bad first pit cycle. So I'll definitely take a third place finish to start off and at least keep the light at the end of the tunnel, for the possibility of maybe if things go right and iRacing gods smile upon me, I can maybe grab a championship. I think I'm an underdog here, but I'll definitely take the third place to get me kicked off into that.
Obviously, the goal next week is to finish in the top 4 so you can go run for that championship, and you gave yourself a big advantage tonight.
Yep.
I have a question. What are you doing to celebrate?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead, Steve. I was just trying to focus on the race, and I don't know. Maybe I'll have some hot chocolate.
Yeah, well, if
Maybe
it's
that's up
cool,
on tap.
if it's cool there like it is here, I think you might need some.
Yeah, we're in Northwest Indiana. It's pretty cool today. It's down in like the 40s or 50s. So yeah, it's a good idea. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. So before we let you go, though, so I can get your hot chocolate ready, though, Davis, I definitely want to give you the floor, though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that third place run tonight?
Yeah, big shout out to Area 51, the admins, the work they do, the setup builders, everything that they really knocked out of the park. They always do a good job, but tonight I thought was especially good with on the setup side of things. And thank you to you guys. Finally, I forgot what you guys even sounded like, so it's been so long since I've been up here. So it's good to talk to you, and thanks for the work. I really enjoy. I always pop the broadcasts on Wednesdays when I'm at work and have it in the background and kind of watch through it. And you guys do awesome. I really like the way you call the races. You guys are always on point. And finally, thank you to my now future wife, getting married later this year, for putting up with me and letting me pretend to be a race car driver for a few nights a week.
It's always a pleasure. So yeah, I'm definitely glad to have you back up here with us. So yeah, definitely congratulations there. And look, say good luck on the wedding planning, though. That's always a lot of fun as well. But say for now, though, enjoy this one. Go find that hot chocolate, and say we look forward to catching you next week.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back up here, David.
Yep. Good to talk to you guys. Thanks.
All right, Steve. So next up, we've got our number 11 of Matt Wagner. So we'll jump back. We'll pull him on up over here. Say Matt in the 11 car started in 7th position, brings it home in 2nd. I'll say that last run, I say you were one of those guys that you opted not to top off at the end. I mean, was that pretty much that whole rest of the run? There was just you were pretty much having to commit to being full fuel save, and you couldn't really shy away from it, or what was going through kind of your controls, I guess, through that last stint there?
Well, fuel map and track position is pretty much key through the whole race there. I was afraid to top off because if I did, I'm going to lose so much track position. So with me being behind about 2 or 3 cars, which allowed me to save enough fuel to get me to the end. I did have like probably about 2 extra laps fuel saved. I tried to turn it up at the end, but it's really tough to pass here.
Matt, one of the things I was thinking, because we tease you so much about your difficulties with fuel mileage and being super aggressive and rather taking the lead and not worrying about the fuel. I was just thinking that this must be killing you to sit there running in 2nd, saving fuel, so you can make it.
Go ahead. Please finish.
That's it. I'm sure you were, part of you really wanted to try and pass Craig, but the other part was like, no, I got to save fuel.
During that run, probably the last 15 laps, you're probably seeing my car was showing low. I went pretty much max fuel when I was right behind him. I was trying to pressure him trying to get him to burn as much fuel as possible, because he did run out at the end. So it was pretty close.
Yes, it was. What did you think when you saw Jimmy Drynan and David Payton coming up on the outside? And did you know that David had topped off?
I was nervous
Uh-huh.
because I did go back and look the incident between me and Chad. I was running so low that my car got tight trying to turn in, and I was just a little bit higher normal entry, and me and him neck coded like a yard, and I really do feel bad for Chad. And I was on the other stick last week, and trust me, it sucks, and I know how it feels. It's terrible.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, I think when you're going about 195, 200 miles an hour at a 1 mile track running 18-second laps, it's obviously you're kind of at the mercy of the net code and things of that nature. And we saw a few of them tonight. Unfortunately, that wasn't the only one. And yes, and it's just, and I think that's kind of just the nature of the beast here tonight, was with it being just say the guys were saying the setup was so good. It was just you had to run the bottom because you were able to just hold it well on down there so well. Did you have any like, were there any thoughts at points about trying to do something different, like moving lines around, or like I said, once you saw the 99 and company moving to the top, did you think about trying to make something happen, like go to fuel map 1 and kind of full send it, or did you feel like your best bet was still going to be stay on the bottom? A, for track position in the low line, and B, of course, to make sure you don't risk that net code situation as well.
My whole thought process was I was actually trying to slow up T behind me, so he had no clue what was going on. I was trying to gather some runs, see if I can make a nice little burst at the checkered flag, but it wasn't enough. But that was my only thought process, is try to get a run, lay back a little bit, and use that draft to hopefully get by him, and it just wasn't enough just to pass him. It's a pretty much a one groove track, but I do enjoy Dover. It's one of the very first NASCAR races I went to, and it was awesome. I'll take second. I'm excited. Let's go. Let's go on next week. Going on the Homestead.
Definitely puts you in a good position next week.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. Homestead is one of my favorite racetracks, and I'm happy to go there into Area 51. Hopefully, advance to the final round.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. As like I said, a lot of pressure. As you had playoff drivers finishing first through third tonight, and then Michael Spell in sixth. Charles Teedon, unfortunately, some contact at the end. I think maybe he may have run out of fuel at the end. He fell back to eighth there.
Yes, he did run out of fuel.
Yeah, I'll say so. Still a top 10, still decently. Obviously 3 drivers having some pretty tough nights tonight. So yeah, like Steve said, puts yourself in a pretty good spot going into next week at Homestead before that 8-4 drop. So before we get to that, though, we got to give you the floor here, though. Of course, any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that run tonight?
Well, I'm happy to say that I'm getting my second shot tomorrow, and I am not looking forward to it. I advise all you to get your COVID shots and get them done. Shout out to the kitty cat for annoying the pestering, the ever living, you know what, out of me the whole race. She kept digging her claws right in me. but you know, a shout out to my folks as well. They're watching. And
All right, I have to ask, where was your cat during the race?
she jumped up on my lap and she's digging right in my knee. It's not fun, and especially when you got 2 hands on the steering wheel and you're trying to turn, and she's right there.
Yeah. So you ran that race with a cat on your lap.
Pretty much.
I'm impressed.
I'll say cat on the lap with the VR, and I'll say that's gonna be a difficult combo to work with, but I'll say still found a way to get it done though, Matt. So yeah, great job tonight though. No worries about tomorrow. Say definitely make sure you're well hydrated. Say I had my second shot a few months ago. So I felt crappy for about 24 hours, and I bounced back once I got some good sleep and everything. So you'll be good. Say if you need anything, you know where to find us though. But yeah, I'll say. It'll be. I say it's a good step, though. Like you said, they'll help get things back to some sort of normalcy again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the world to get back to being back where it should be.
Amen.
Yep, I'm with you there. So congrats, though, Matt. Great run tonight. Look forward to seeing you next week at Homestead.
Yep.
Great.
Guys, we'll catch you later.
Yep. Great run, Matt.
See you, Steve.
See ya.
All right, Steve, that's going to leave one driver left, as he just had just enough of a splash of fuel to make it to the end. As I was watching, I was waiting for that burnout, Steve, and there was no burnout because there was no more fuel left in that 27 car. Craig was able to manage that fuel mileage just perfectly tonight. We were a little nervous if you're going to be able to make it there. And then, of course, once we saw David Payne and then Jimmy Driner working that top side, if you're going to have to kind of bump up the fuel maps at the end. Just, I mean, how much were you having to do behind the wheel to try to manage the guys behind you on the inside line, and of course try to slow that run down up top as well, coming towards the end there?
Oh man, I have never had to play with fuel maps so much in my entire life. I every corner I was adjusting fuel maps, and basically once when I made the move on Charles, that was when I knew I had the fuel to make it to the end in map 1, or not in map 1, in map 3. But as soon as the I think it was Jimmy and a couple other guys started to get the run on the outside, I had to start adjusting the fuel maps to try and like save fuel down in the corners so that I could bump it back up in the straights. And yeah, I had just enough fuel to make it to the next corner.
That's so crazy. I mean, that's almost like shifting, only it's even harder, I think.
Yeah, glad I have the fuel maps on easy to reach buttons on the wheel, because there was a lot of pushing them.
Yeah, definitely. Craig, I got to say something for viewers that may not have been here all season. Craig started the season in the infirmary. He had some surgery on his feet and drove with hand controls the first several races, and it was difficult. And he was pretty far back in the points at one time, made the playoffs, and here we are with you winning the first race of the playoffs. So I bow down to you. It's a hell of a comeback.
Luck had a lot to play. I mean, Henry had the mistake on the pit stop there. I mean, he was the fastest guy, basically whoever had the lead was going to win the race, really, barring a mistake. And I got lucky because when he made his mistake on the pit entry there, he just slightly clipped me, but it didn't seem to damage the car at all. And I ended up never using my fast repair. But and then I tried to make a move earlier on the last stint. I think it was right when Bud pitted. I figured that Charles would be distracted enough that I could try him on the outside, and he didn't notice me trying to pass him on the outside. So we got together there, but we were both able to keep it together. So there was a lot of luck in keeping the car pointed forward. And I mean, that's a lot of Dover. You've got to be there at the end, and there's a lot of chance for a mistake. And if you make a mistake here, you're going to be 2 laps down. Simple as that.
Yep, we saw that plenty. And speaking of mistakes and almost costing yourself the race, we watched you go in on that green flag pit stop, and you were going so fast on the apron that when you finally got on the brakes, it looked like it was too late. You went sideways and almost didn't make it into the pits. So how scared were you that you were speeding?
I was paying very close attention to my speedometer and hoping that the guy with the radar camera was not.
Yeah, that was a really close. I mean, as like Steve was talking about the speed, I was watching the pit wall. I thought that was my bigger concern. I thought you were going to catch it on the entry, but I think you were able to release the brake just in time and kind of crank it left to stay off that wall. But that pit entry, I mean, it worked though. I mean, we saw you come out with a couple second lead there, as they gave you a little bit of breathing room for probably about 15-20 laps before Charles and Matt and them caught back up to you. So. Was that kind of, you knew you need to try to get all you could on the entry to help your cause out for that track position?
Yeah, I wanted to come out in the lead because it's too hard to pass here. You have to make such an aggressive pass attempt that you're putting yourself in danger. So it's far easier to pass people in the pit lane, that's for sure.
No, you definitely nailed it tonight. I got to quiz the admins after tonight's race. I'm not sure if it's a win and you advance or not. So if it is, obviously that's a great position for you to be in, because that'll bump you into that Final Four at Texas. So I'll have to do some questioning on that one. However, of course, the result tonight, that's going to put you in a great spot next week at Homestead. Obviously, depending on what the rulings are on that side of things, I mean, what are your thoughts going into next week?
I'm going to be much happier at Homestead than I was here. I didn't expect such a good result here based on qualifying and how fast everyone was. So I'll take the lucky win and go forward to a track that I usually have good results at. So going to be happy. Take the LMC gear machine there and see what we can do. Maybe get another win and put a stamp on this thing. Or I don't know, maybe do our points reset on the for the final? Probably.
I think the finale of text will be basically just the highest finisher of the 4, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll say we've got some questions to ask for sure though on that one. But I'll say don't worry about that for now. Say enjoy this one. Like I said, hard fought, well earned. They'll say nailed the strategy. Like I said, very busy behind the wheel. So you just had enough to get pretty much across the line, and then a couple turns before you sputtered out there at the end. So. Just awesome job tonight, Craig. I'd say it was a lot of fun watching you kind of balance everything this evening. And before we let you go, though, got to give you the floor, though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that win tonight?
I've got to thank the LMC Gear crew. That's lightweight motorcycle gear, camping gear. Good bunch of guys. And Area 51, you guys, we're winding down our season here, but the new season's going to start up in probably a month or so. And if you're looking for good Tuesday night racing, good group of guys, tight racing all the time, this is where you can hone your skills.
Nice. Congrats again, Craig. Enjoy this one. Look forward to catching you next week. And enjoy this one, though. And I'll say we'll see how things shake out on the points.
Congrats.
Thanks, guys. You guys stay safe.
Yep, you too.
All right, Steve. So it was kind of like we talked about. Dover was going to be a bit of a wild card in more ways than one. We talked about the difficulty of passing. It definitely came into play again here tonight. Let's say before we go into all of that, though, we'll go over our final results here real quick. So Craig Forsyth getting that win by just over half over half a tenth over Matt Wagner. David Payne there in third. So it was a great fight between the three of them for that top spot at the end. Jim Brooks was able to sneak around the outside with that contact we saw at the end. Grabbed the fourth spot. James Ledford in fifth. Michael Spell brings it home in sixth. Alec Coates seventh. Unfortunately, Charles T drops from about fourth or so to eighth after the running out of fuel off of turn 4. And then we saw Jimmy Drennan. He ran out of fuel. He still brings it home in the 9th position. Dwight Plush in 10th. And then these drivers not having the nights they're looking for. Bud Steele went green the rest of the way, so his strategy did not pan out. He finishes in 11th. And then we talked about the drivers having troubles tonight. Eric Schaus, Henry Bennett. We saw both of their incidents. Henry on the pit road side of things. Eric had some contact earlier on, just never able to recover. And Ivan Pla, John Brill, not the nights they were looking for. Then Chad Wilkes, to say, definitely had the worst of the playoff drivers' nights, to say, getting caught up in a couple of incidents. Say one of which just being a complete netcode situation. So say it's going to be a tall hill for these guys to climb, but say these are three very fast, very talented drivers, so wouldn't be surprised to see them up in the mix and dicing up next week at Homestead for that win. Like I said, I got to find out about that if you win and you advance, because that's going to really change the complexion of things here tonight, or I should say of next week. And then Gary Corley in 17th, and then Joseph DeCiro in the 18th position. All right. Well, that was a pretty wild one, Steve. I'll say a little bit of everything tonight here.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of played out the way we thought it might. Man, some of these the guys that you expected to be finishing up front that had problems tonight, it's going to make things very interesting next week.
Yeah, it really will. I mean, and saying we think about the bonus points. I mean, Henry Bennett, he had the most bonus points going into it. So I mean, I think that's going to help kind of stop the bleeding a little bit for him. I said it'll help him out a little bit there. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, these guys are going to have a tall hill to climb, and say Homestead, of course, going to be a whole different animal to Dover, just the way that track drives compared to here. However, Homestead does have some multi-grooves, though, so I'll be curious to see what's going to be the line to run there. If it's going to be kind of maybe the very bottom on the white line, maybe run that middle seam. So I think it's going to open up a lot of opportunities. I think we're going to see a lot of adjustments to the weight jackers and things like that for clean air versus dirty air. And of course, these guys are going to be moving all over the track to try to find that clean air on those noses to try to find their way forward in the race next week.
Yeah, I definitely hope that we have some multi-groove racing next week, so these guys can really challenge each other and not have to have a situation like tonight where you just kind of stay in line and hope somebody makes a mistake or has bad luck.
Yeah, it definitely puts you kind of between a rock and a hard place at times, but so they managed it well. Saying again that timing of that caution, I mean, I think it just worked out just about perfectly. Pretty much put a whole wrench into the plans, and say made everybody kind of decide, okay, do we gotta just roll and save fuel, or are you gonna do what David Payne did, top off there, and then kind of go full send once you felt comfortable going to the end. So it was a very exciting one. I'll say congrats again to Craig, Matt, and David for their top 3 finishes tonight. Steve, as always, a pleasure. Looking forward to next week with you, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and looking forward to it.
Yep, me too, Gael. It's definitely been an entertaining couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to the next 2.
All right, so hopefully everybody else was able to enjoy it tonight. We'll be back, of course, on Thursday for the Cup Series Series 1, race number 1 of the playoff race, and then Sunday will be race number 1 of the Super Speedway playoff race. Definitely keep an eye out for those ones. It'll be a lot of fun as well. Should be pretty exciting there. And so, of course, until then, though, if you can, as always, try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and until Thursday, have a good night, everyone.
All right, everybody.